Hi there and welcome. Today I'm going to get you caught up on all of the finished objects, the things that I'm working on, plans before baby arrives in just 7 short weeks. So lots to talk about. Let's get to it. Welcome to Mother Knits. My name is Katherine, and on this channel I like to share about all of the things that I am making as a full-time mama and maker living in northern Arizona. I have 2 little ones and I am 8 months pregnant, so one on the way really quickly. I love fiber arts and design, and knitting takes up a lot of my creative time, but I'm also a ceramicist and artist, and I like to share some of those other creative projects that come in. If that sounds like a journey that you would like to follow along with, make sure that you subscribe and put on notifications, because I don't really have a regular posting schedule, so that way you'll be notified whenever I upload a video and sit down and check in with you here. I have so much to catch you up on. I think it's been almost 3 weeks since I have sat down and filmed, and there has been so much making happening here in this house. I have had a flurry of motivation to finish up projects and sort of just like get things buttoned up before baby's here. I've had some pretty big projects on my needles that I want to share with you today. So let's jump in to the first, well, I guess the only finished object that I have for you today. And this big project has been on my needles for 74 days. And as of 2 days ago, I blocked it, and then today I just sewed on the buttons, which I made myself. And this is the Field Day Jacket pattern by Ozetta. And on my Ravelry page, I'm calling this my Winter Arizona jacket. You can see all of my notes there. I really didn't deviate too much from the pattern, other than just a few little things that I'll go over today, but really not much. So I am really bummed that I did not get pictures or photos of this before I blocked it, because I think that would have been really, really interesting to show you that before and after. I think that's important. So I'm going to try my best to make sure I always take a moment and do that. But as soon as I was done casting off, I was so excited to just, get weave in the ends, get this in the bathtub. It was one of those sort of late nights everyone was in bed, and I could really get a lot moving and done on this project, and I just completely forgot to get video or pictures of it. You can sort of get a sense of the drape. We'll talk about the buttons. First, let me share a bit about the yarn that I used. So this is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted, and I think the color is charcoal, and I held that with Malabrigio mohair in the color Arco Iris. And there is quite a lot of color variegation that you guys can sort of see. Like, luckily the skein that I used at the very end. It was very pink, very purpley. The ones that I used at the beginning though, like for the back, you can sort of see that there is this like green halo effect. And I wanted to hold mohair with this project for a few different reasons. One, I wanted the color. I did want there to be some difference in color shifts and just adding that visual interest. And I did want it to look fuzzy. This is something I will be wearing as a coat. I live in Arizona. This is a really heavy wool, thick fabric that, you know, we do get pretty cold nights in the high desert and chilly mornings, so it's perfect for those times. There's very few days here a year where I could like get bundled up in this and wear it all day long, but I really wanted something for those cold mornings and cold evenings when I'm up really early before the kiddos, and sometimes I like to have coffee outside or just, you know, breathe in that crisp, dry desert air. And this is going to be perfect. It's going to just, it's really, really soft to wear over something. I also wanted the mohair in this to give it some structure. So with the worsted weight wool, I figured, and it's a big garment, it's a big jacket, and I figured it's probably going to stretch out because it is so heavy. And I thought maybe the mohair, the silk mohair, would sort of help with the integrity of the jacket and holding it together a little bit, because that silk mohair is such a strong fiber. It's actually what I used to sew the buttons on this garment, which let me show you because I just got them on and so now it is officially finished. So let's see, maybe I can, how do I hold it? It's such a beast of a sweater, but you can kind of see the buttons here. These are my handmade buttons. I made these in my ceramics kiln and used a blue glaze that I thought would really complement this jacket. As I've thought more about my personal style and the things that I really, really gravitate towards, I tend to have like a mix between the granola girl aesthetic, like hiking boots, cargo pants, super like comfy sweater, t-shirts, ball cap, and just kind of that almost a little bit tomboy, but I don't know, I like the granola girl aesthetic a lot, meets like art teacher. And I feel like this combines that really, really beautifully. I could totally see myself throwing this on for a camping trip and bringing it along for something like that. But I also could see myself wearing it with some jeans and funky boots, like just over a t-shirt in case, you know, we're going to be out in the evening or something like that, or headed out somewhere early in the day and I just want to have something cozy and warm in the winter months here. But this is totally sufficient for a winter coat for me where I live. And so I really wanted this finished as soon as possible. February through April can still have some pretty cold days where I'll be able to use this at least in the mornings. So I really wanted it finished, and it did take a little bit longer than I expected. I don't know why I expected it to go so quickly. I guess because of the worsted weight. And as you'll see, I haven't worked with the worsted weight yarn in a while. So, but I think it was on my needles a total, like I said, 74 days, which I think is pretty good, especially because I started and finished the pressed flower shawl right behind me in that time as well. I had been working on other projects. I got sick, it was the holidays, so I don't know, it's kind of hard to say how many hours I put in this, but with life going on and being pregnant and all of those things that I just said, 74 days feels like a pretty quick knit for this size and weight of what this is. I want to say this is 98 or 99% dry. There's still just that cool factor, so I think I'm going to lay it out in the sunshine today and just really make sure that it gets fully dry. I probably should have left it alone, but I couldn't wait to pick it up and show it to you and show you how it looks. I'm really happy with it, and I would knit this again. I would actually be really interested to try the yarn that Ozetta, the designer of this pattern, suggested and do something more like a camel, like a light brown. I think that might be cool, but I don't know if I need two of these. So I really enjoyed the pattern. I thought it was very straightforward. It is all worked flat except for the sleeves, which I guess I will mention. These were 5mm needles. This is the sleeve here. And I did take my needle size down to a size 4 for the cuffs, for the ribbings of the cuffs, just because I like that shape. I like that look. And as I was knitting this, I was like, wow, this is just so oversized that I just thought it might give a little bit more structure. I could have even gone down and even 3.5 probably on these cuffs, because I like a snug cuff and a balloony sleeve. I really like that look. So yeah, so I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And you can, again, go to my Ravelry page. You'll be able to see all of the photos, all of the little details of that project. I really recommend it. I think it's really pretty straightforward. I would say somewhere like early intermediate knitter would be very comfortable with this. I can't really think of anything that I did, maybe the buttonholes that were particularly tricky with that pattern. I really enjoyed it, and it was very motivating for me to get my first round of handmade buttons done. I'm gonna have a full episode devoted to that process, because if I start talking about it now, this episode's going to just be entirely too long. But I am fully in the process of all of the button making, and it has been a really rewarding experiment for me. I have not been able to find anyone online who is a knitter and a ceramicist and makes buttons. And so I feel sort of a little bit like it's a super niched down, very specific thing. And so there's been a lot of trial and error and using, finding the right tools, but I'll make a whole other video about that maybe next week, because I do have my first round of buttons that are completed, and I'm very proud of them, and have a lot of ideas, especially for kid knits, like cute little buttons that I think will add a lot of charm to my handmade items. Let's go ahead and move on to the works in progress. I have spent a lot of time on this project, but you wouldn't really know it by looking at it. So I think since the last time I've sat down with you, well, first let me back up. This is the Rowan cardigan, which is such an interesting springtime design. And I was just watching an episode of Nora Knits, or aka Nora Knits, right? And she was talking about different trends for the year, and I was really fascinated by one that she talked about with this very particular color, yellow. And right before I saw her episode on that, I was thinking man, I kind of wish I would have gone with a yellow color scheme here because I think that would have looked really cool. But I went with this watermelon pink yarn, and I think the color of this mohair is called English Rose. It's very, very pink, very blushy pink. And this has been on my needles for almost a year because this was the first knitted garment that I took on. And I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just really wanted a challenge, and I got it with this sweater. So over the last year, I have ripped out the sleeves, redone them. There's holes everywhere in this project. And right now, I am currently knitting the second sleeve. So we have one that is done. Here, no, here. One sleeve completed, and this is not a full length sleeve. It's sort of like a bracelet length sleeve. I haven't tried it on. I did start knitting this before finding out I was pregnant. I probably would have gone up a size. I am very hopeful that with blocking, this is going to grow quite a bit. And if not, it's going to go to my daughter, and that's totally okay with me. This has definitely been a project where I've learned a ton. All that's really left to do is the sleeve, of course, and then the button band ribbing. It's just taking a while because this yarn is just, it's very thin, this fingering weight yarn. But I'm almost done with the mohair stripes down the sleeve, and then I can be done knitting with single strand mohair on this project. And my personal goal for this is to have this done by Valentine's Day so that either I can wear it, and I mean done, I mean like buttons on, it's dried from blocking, like I'm wearing it on Valentine's Day, or I'm gifting it to my daughter on Valentine's Day as part of her Valentine's Day gift. One of those things will happen. So the day I'm filming this, I think that gives me about 10 days for it to be completely done. I think that's a good amount of time. I've been spending quite a bit of time. Anytime I'm knitting at home, this is what I'm working on. I don't like taking this project out with me anymore, especially with this sleeve, as I'm striping the sleeves and I have to keep my yarn from getting like wrapped up and tangled with one another as I'm knitting in the round there. But I am so curious what this is actually going to look like after it's blocked, after it has buttons on it. I'm either going to love it or I'm just not going to love it. I actually really love the design and I love the look of this. And I think that it is really special and unique. And I know it seems like I'm very mohair heavy over here. It just happens to be that these two projects are my only mohair projects. But I like the sheer fabric that this has made in this sweater. I think it's just really, really cool. I love the yarn combination, and I think in a bright yellow, this would be such a happy cardigan. So, but I'm not anxious to actually knit this pattern again anytime soon. I think down the road I might, because I do think it's special and really beautiful. I also thought this would be so gorgeous in like a navy or something darker, so that you have that the contrast of like the sheer mohair with your solid fingering weight. I think that would be incredibly elegant actually to do this like in a navy color. And that could be very actually quite summery as well, especially if you took the sleeves up a bit, because it's pretty lightweight. But that I'm hoping to have done by the next time that we chat. that project. So I'm pretty focused, I'm pretty motivated on that one. I only have like 4 more stripes on the sleeve, and then as soon as I get to that button band ribbing, I think I'm gonna just be so excited to just like dedicate an evening to really getting as far as I can on that. But I don't know how long that's gonna take. So that one I would say is pretty high on my priority list to just get it done. I knew that if I didn't have that one done before baby arrived, it's been sitting on the needles for almost a year and it's kind of stressing me out. So it has felt really good to make big progress on that. I think I just needed to work on my knitting skills. Like I just reached a point with that sweater where I was completely frustrated, and knitting single strand mohair is kind of a nightmare for a beginning knitter. Like it just is, yeah, there's going to be quite a lot of work that I think I do at the end of this with really combing through it and seeing if there's any holes or anything like that, because yeah, it was my first time knitting with fingering weight yarn or mohair as a single strand yarn. So it was quite a challenge. I learned a lot. I'm really grateful that I took on the challenge, but I'm really happy to have it like almost done. I'm like kind of sick of looking at it. I want it off the needles. I want it to just be complete. And the next project that I have to show you is super exciting. So this is my Ranunculus. And you guys, I think I actually am ready maybe to do the hem at the bottom. So I went with the quick version of this pattern. All right, that's the back. Here's the front. Look at this. I went with a DK weight yarn. The kiddos. So I believe the yarn is the Barocco Vintage DK in the color Bird's Nest. And I went for the no sleeve option on that pattern. If you have the pattern, then you know. I think the next time I knit this, because I do definitely want to knit this again. I had so much fun with it, and I'm having fun with it. I would love to try a little sleeve. I think that would be really nice. So, but for this first time, I was just like, let's just skip. Let's not do the sleeves. Let's just let it be that little cap sleeve and see how I like that. But I do think next time I'll do sleeves. Let's measure and see if am I ready for ribbing? Let's find out. Okay, so for my size, I'm looking for 10 centimeters. And I'm at more than that, I think. Whoopsies. Yeah, so I actually knit about 13 centimeters down. But that's okay. I think longer is probably better than too short. And so, yeah, it actually looks like I'll be able to start the twisted rib hem. That will be my next step. So I'll finish up this round and then switch to some smaller needles and work on that ribbing, and then this will be done. So this is actually very close to being completed. I have heard so much about how these whip up really quickly, and it's true. I just couldn't believe how pleasurable and quickly this knit up, and I am so excited to make more. I have some cotton yarn that I think would be really wonderful to knit this in. My knit shop has like a really gorgeous sort of silk linen blend that every time I see it, I'm like, that would just make such a gorgeous ranunculus sweater. But the colors are really pastel-y and not really what I usually go for, but it's looking so good. I'm very, very happy with it. Here's the front, actually. I was showing you the back. Here's the front. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. I feel like this really is one of those milestone knits, and I don't know if that's goofy to feel that way or not, but I just, so many of you who inspire me online and in, that are creating content around knitting, you just have to do one, and I don't know. So it's just been really, really satisfying. And I know that I'm going to knit more of these, and I know that I'd love to knit my daughter some of these as well. I think it would just be so pretty. So that is what I'm going to definitely be coming back to. So other projects that are going on around here, I briefly mentioned this, I think like in my very first episode, that I have been working on a quilt for my son's bed. He wants a space-themed room. I have been working on this quilt for quite a while, and actually it took away from quite a bit of my knitting time this week because I've been trying to free motion quilt the topper of this quilt, and it has been an absolute nightmare. I actually can't think of or remember another time that I took on a crafting project and it felt so discouraging and defeating. I think part of the reason is that I don't know my sewing machine well enough. I have a Singer Quantum Stylist, and I love this machine. It's a wonderful machine. It says, and I've seen tutorials of it doing free motion quilting, and I put the free motion quilting footer on it. I gave it my best shot, but my needles are breaking, my thread is breaking. I got new needles, I got new thread. I've spent hours troubleshooting, like watching YouTube tutorials, trying to figure this out. I am just so discouraged with it, and I do not like the way that it looks. I chose a navy thread to do my quilting with, and that was a very bad decision. That was like a very bad design decision. I do not like the way that it looks. I started to get really discouraged because I'm looking at this project that I spent so much time doing the quilt top on, and I'm just totally hating it. I mean, I know my son would probably not care and like it, and he's very excited for it to be done, but I was just like, this is awful. So I finally, just the other day, I was sitting at my machine trying to get it to work. It wasn't working. I don't even know how many hours I've put into just trying to get the free motion quilting done at this point. And I've decided I'm going to rip all of it out, and I am just going to hand quilt a very simple stitch, just very simple, just to get it done. And I would really love to have this done before baby gets here. I'm actually not even all that excited about hand quilting it at this point. I'm hoping we have a few nice days of weather so I can set it outside. We have a big wooden table outside, and maybe just set it out there, and it can be a project that hopefully is like a weekend project. I will keep you guys updated on how it goes. I got a different color thread. I've got a few materials now for hand quilting that I'm gonna try out. And I've been gaining inspiration from the Last Homely House YouTube channel. Has really been my encouragement to like just hand quilt it, enjoy the process, find a nice spot outside to drink tea and do some hand stitching, probably after the pink cardigan is done, and be able to give that to my little boy before baby gets here, so that that is just checked off my list. I think I've been working on that since I wanted to give it to him for Christmas, so I think I started it in the late fall, and it just didn't go the way that I had hoped, and it's been a learning experience. I definitely don't think I have the right machine for quilting on my machine. That's okay. I can use my sewing machine for plenty of other projects, or just straight line quilting. And I think that the fabric I chose for his quilt, I chose a pretty thick batting because it is going to be for his bed, and I just wanted it to be really nice and cozy and warm. So I think that is a factor playing into it. All in all, to say, that's been like a really big making project that I've been working on, and I will let you guys know when it's done and show you guys the process along the way. It hasn't been my favorite thing. I'm not like anytime soon wanting to take on another quilting project like for years. I'll come back to it maybe later because I think it's a beautiful craft. I'd love to understand more. I find it to be a really tricky one with little kids around. I think that's why I'm so in love with knitting right now, because this project can go in a bag and go with me to the kids' music lessons or wherever we are. And if we're homeschooling or if I'm just sitting and chatting with them, it's portable. I can work on this. And it's really why knitting has become such a love and really taken up so much of my time, because of the portability of it. And then we get clothes in the end too. The other project that I mentioned last week was the doll that I'm very excited to make. However, I mentioned in my last episode that knitting this tight gauge, I think it's 3 or 2.5 millimeter needles, I'll have to check, with worsted weight yarn, it was just a really honestly pretty horrible knitting experience on my hands. Not relaxing at all, and I was really stuck on what to do because I really want the finished object. I really want to knit toys, but that gauge is just no fun at all on my hands. And so I was talking to a friend who actually went and had a knitting class, and she was working on toys as well, and she said that in that class, that experienced knitter said, just go up a needle size, don't worry about it, it's going to be much, much easier. And she passed that on to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to just do that. So I ripped out all of the work that I did on those super small needles, and I'm bumping up a needle size. I'm going to get that project going again here pretty soon. It's just, that's going to need to be one though that it's like kids are in bed and I'm looking for something, to really put my mind to. More engaging knit, not a portable knit exactly, I don't think. So that's coming and that's on the way, and I'm really excited about getting more into toy knitting. I think that's going to be a fun new adventure, and I think I'm going to learn a lot as I take that on, which I'm really excited about. But this is what I've been working on recently and the things that I'm excited to get started. I've got a whole bunch of ideas of once these projects are completed, what it is I'm going to be jumping into next. And I think they're all going to be very small scale. After doing that field day jacket, I'm just kind of like, I'm good on the big, woolly, bulky knits, and I'm very excited to get into some smaller things, just as like a good palette cleanser before really deciding what the next sweater or garment is going to be that I knit. It's always so nice to sit down and chat with you all about being a mother